Excellent. Now, just taking a step back, because if you look at the role of a senator and the role of a governor, they're very, very similar. Where do you feel that the line is drawn between the governor's position and the senator's position?
The line is drawn from the governor's side. The line is drawn on the governor is playing an administrative role with the county government. The senator is playing a parliamentary role with the parliament. So that is just the difference. But otherwise, we are doing the same thing, and none of us can operate without each other. The governor and the senator will have to work together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just to take you back on that one, because you were aspiring to be a governor, not senator. How did did that end up to being a senator?
I was proposed by my party when we had problems with the National Elections Board over my degrees. They said they are not going to clear them, which was actually not their responsibility. The work to clear my degrees was IEBC. And surprisingly, they are the same degrees I submitted when I was submitting my documents for senator. And I think that RO, the returning officer, made a deliberate move of asking me, where are your academic documents? She didn't ask me for certificates. She didn't ask me for diplomas. She said, where are your degree documents? I said, here they are. She said, I'll accept them. IEBC had no problem with my documents because we had not even reached that stage. And IEBC, before submitting my documents, if I continued vying for governor, I would have been the one to write to Commission for Higher Education to ask, can you authenticate or acquit my documents? Yeah. But that is not me who did it. It is one of my internal opponents who used the lawyer to write a letter. So from the word go, the malice in it. And the letter that the CHE responded, when I see it, I have never actually tried to check whether it's genuine or not. But when I saw that letter, it rubbished all my documents, including a certificate I did in 2010 in Harvard University.
Yes.
Now, Harvard University 2010 was a course on governance that was paid by government. And I did the course. I graduated. I got my certificate. Even that, they tarnished. Why? They said they rubbished it. Why? Because I'm not the one who applied. However, when we finish with the elections and we are done, I still have something to clear with CHE. They still have to tell me, can you work on my documents now? Can you work on my transcripts? And I believe they will acquit them.
So you have your certificate, you have your diploma, you have your...
Yes, I have a doctorate. That's why I'm doctor.
There you go.
Yes, and then the initial argument was, they are theological. And I was like, they could have been agriculture. They could have been medicine. I mean, the fact that they are theological, I specialize in theology. Yes. And I'm not going to specialize in anything else unless I do Christian leadership, Christian counseling. I love cooking. Maybe if I do anything else, it'll be on food production. Yes. But really, I won't go doing a course that is not of interest to me. So I said, that is neither here, neither there. And that bridge we crossed. Then now they came and said, we will have to look at your documents later. But already somebody has written a letter which they have already responded. And that is the letter that the National Elections Board acted on.
All right. And they're from a well-renowned institution.
The two institutions that I got my degrees from, that I learned through,
yes,
they are good institutions. Never mind a small farmhouse.
Yes.
I saw in a newspaper saying that this is Vineyard. Vineyard does not look like that. Vineyard is a huge institution. Even locally here, there are very, very many people with diplomas, higher diplomas and degrees from the same college. So for somebody to have acted so maliciously, it was wrong. But also it's good to note that time was against me. They did it just the time when we were moving into nominations. So time was against me. And by God's grace, the people saved me. The people demanded I must be on the ballot paper.
In fact, it was very interesting how it happened when people went into nominations precisely.
Yes.
Because tell the story of what actually happened at the ballot boxes when people were nominating.
When people went for nominations, first of all, there was no ballot paper for woman representative. There was no ballot paper for senator. And in the governor's ballot paper, there were only 2 names. So when people heard the previous night, it was all over the news that Bishop Margaret's name will not be on the ballot paper. Already we got protest, what we call a protest vote, very silently, but people have protested. People decided they are not going to go and vote. They protested, they kept away from the nominations. The few that went to vote on the governor's paper, instead of voting for the 2 names that were there, they wrote my name. Even some of them wrote BMW, which is Bishop Margaret Wanjiru. Others wrote Bishi. Others wrote Mama Nakazi, which is what they call me on the streets when I work with the people. Mama Nakazi. Others wrote Margaret Wanjiru. And that was a wake-up call to the National Elections Board. We have a problem here. We need Margaret on the ballot paper.
You know, Bishop Wanjiru, that was an incredible, almost protest vote, like you've called it.
Yes.
Are we beginning to see the rise of the common Mwananchi's voice and its ability to be heard? Are we beginning to see that in politics generally?
The beauty of it is that the common man's voice, the Mwananchi's voice, in this case, was heard without us taking tires and burning them on the streets.
Exactly.
Without us throwing stones. It was so silent, but that silence spoke volumes. If you realize, even me, immediately it happened, I went silent. For about 2 weeks or so, I was so silent, and that silence spoke volumes. It was that Nairobi, without Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, we are not voting. We are not going anywhere. We are not voting. And that sent the message. And that's how I believe the leadership of the party concluded, let's give Margaret the senator position.
Now, Bishop Margaret, as Farida Karu says, you sound so confident, so eloquent, so sure of yourself. But looking back looking at the people the younger people, the youth, what will you do to ensure that young men and women are able to follow your footsteps and to fight for and realize their own potential?
Very good. Number one, I would like to say that what Nairobi needs is a role model. Nairobi needs a role model. Nairobi needs a leader who is very transformative. You need to transform the communities. I always say poverty is not the state of the pocket, it's the state of the mind. If you can transform the minds, then you are able to transform the pocket. If you cannot transform the mind, it doesn't matter the state of the pocket, that person cannot change. So my number one assignment is create the opportunities, then transform the mindset of our people, that you do not have to be poor. Whether you got good education or not, you do not have to be poor. You can raise up from your ashes. Look at me. Look at the church that I run today. It's an international organization. But that's not where I started. I started on the streets. I was a preacher on the streets. Going backwards, even much, much more further. When I got my kids as a young girl, I was more like teenager age. I had not reached adult age. When I got my kids, I had to raise them up myself. Where did I start? Selling earrings and handkerchiefs on the streets. I was a hawker on the street. That is why you can't touch hawkers when I'm around. I'll tell you, some of them can be your MP tomorrow. You leave them where they are, let them work until you get a better situation for them, until you can do something better for them. Anyway, so if I raised from ashes, anybody else can raise from their ashes into beauty. But they need to know it's doable. Don't bring somebody foreign to teach them that. Just tell them, I've done it, you can do it. And you encourage them. Our people have reached a level of hopelessness. Right now, I'm saying, even us, as we make our political promises, this is what I'll do, this is what I'll do, those promises must be realistic. Because the hopelessness level is very high. The desperation level is very high. We don't want people to come to a new government and then they're thinking nothing is being done. No. Whatever goals we set now must be so realistic that once we are in there, we are able to achieve them.
All right. We have the one and the only BMW, as they call her, Bishop Margaret Wanjiru, with us in the studio. In case of any questions, 984 in the morning or 720 or 734 984 984. Call us up, 22 444 64, as we discuss changes in Nairobi.